Hi, welcome to Rose Squad Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a manga review, and that's going to be over the manga Reimei no Arcana. And this is one that I just kind of found on the internet, which was somewhat surprising because that doesn't usually happen for me. It starts out with your main character, Princess Nakaba, marrying Prince Caesar, who is a prince of another country, kind of as an act of good faith and an attempt to keep peace between their two countries. And he's not very nice. He kind of treats her rudely, and her only real friend is her attendant, Loki. But suddenly she starts getting visions, and some of them are of Prince Caesar getting hurt or mortally injured. And so she kind of has this decision of, like, what are these visions? Are they, like, pretensions of the future? What do I do about them? And whether or not she decides to kind of defend him or just let him take care of himself. Something I should explain about Nakaba is that she has red hair, and for royalty at that time that was extremely rare. All the royalty had dark colored hair, so like black pretty much, and the fact that she had red hair is basically a sign that her mom went and married someone that wasn't of royal status, and so she's kind of ostracized and looked down upon in her own country. And she was kind of locked away, and she didn't really have a whole lot of friends. And despite being kind of rejected, Nakaba has a strong spirit and is willing to stand up for what she believes in. She has a kind heart, and she really wants to help others, and she kind of values people and relationships over material things. Caesar is the crown prince of... No, he isn't. He's not, actually. At the beginning, he acts cruelly towards Nakaba, but he really begins to care for her. He's also a natural leader, but he never really had the chance to use his talent because he's not the crown prince. And finally, we have Loki, who is an Ajin. And Ajin are just, it's a species that's mostly human, but they have one defining animal characteristic. So for Loki, he has dog ears. And it kind of reminded me of the Faunus from Ruby, if you're familiar with that show. Loki is compassionate, but he is willing to hurt others in order to reach his goal. So he is kind of like that dynamic in there, which can make him seem a little bit scary sometimes. We're gonna talk about my favorite thing, guys, plot. Because I've probably said it before, but if you don't have a good plot, then there's a chance that it's not very good to begin with. So having a good plot really, really helps. And Reimei no Arcana's plot is very intricate. Kind of start out with like one thing, but then they keep throwing in a whole bunch of different aspects, and it all builds up to be something really cool. Also, there are multiple plot twists, so you won't have to worry about getting bored. And the story has some deep themes, such as the discrimination of the Ajin, who are kind of considered by the general populace to be subhuman, so kind of like, because they have these animal characteristics, they're pretty much animals, is kind of how a lot of people tend to think of them. And the story can get dark in some places, partially because of the whole Ajin discrimination thing, but then there's other things going on, because spoilers, but just kind of warning you that that does happen. However, I think they deal with the material that they're presenting maturely, and it's very well thought through. So while I may not like the decisions that the characters make to move the plot forward, sometimes they're the only viable ones that they could have chosen, so even if I'm like, oh, it's kind of hard to see what I would have done differently in the situation. Okay, so remember when I said that this manga had plot twists? That definitely comes into play in the ending, because I kind of feel like this had two endings, and it's like, it gets to a point where you're like, oh, this is the ending, there we go. But then something happens and you're like, oh, it's not done yet, okay. Needless to say, I did enjoy the ending as a whole. It kind of ended on a bittersweet note, and I might have wished to see a little bit more of like some resolution and what would happen afterwards, but it is what it is, and I think it did pretty well. Okay, so this is also bringing back to something that I said earlier, kind of when I talked about how it has some darker themes. So just kind of be aware, stuff gets real, man. Also, since Nakaba and Caesar are married, like they are legally married, there's kind of some adult themes. Like, nothing overt happens, but it's kind of like, oh, you're my wife now, so Yeah. I personally enjoyed the art style for this manga. It was really cool to see characters change as time went on, for example, hair length. The one thing that did bother me was at the beginning, Nakaba has her hair back in this braid, and it's this, like, in true anime style, she has, like, a fairly large head, and then, like, her braid tapers down to, like, this little thing, and I'm like, how does, like, all the hair that's on top of your head fit into that small, minuscule braid? And so it just kind of bugged me. Reimei Arcana doesn't really have any other media source thingies. It hasn't been made into an anime yet. However, I would watch that if it were. So as of now, it's just a manga, but it's a good manga, so you should read it. And it's also composed of 13 volumes, so it's not overly long, but it's got enough to kind of proceed with a good plot and such. And if you're interested in reading it, it is licensed in English, so look for it at your local libraries and bookstores. It's also available to read on the interwebs. However, I am not entirely certain of the legality of that method. So just kind of proceed with caution. If you can, please do it legally. Thank you. That's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I really enjoyed reading this manga and kind of discovering it from the depths of the world and just being like, oh, look what this jewel I found, and now I'm going to share it with you guys. And so I hope you check it out, and if you do, let me know what you think in the comments below. So, bye guys. I'm just gonna hit my face. We're just done for today. Okay, bye.